Paris is a perfect place for this show because the French know how to protest better than anybody. You really do. So, you know, maybe I'm here to learn a few lessons to take home.
La réforme, oui, la chienlit, non.
My name is Tristan Eaton, and I'm an artist based in Los Angeles. I paint mostly murals and paintings. I first became aware of graffiti through my older brother in London in the late 80s, early 90s. And first we were skateboarders, you know, we had like a big crew of skaters. And, you know, when you're skateboarding in London in the late 80s, early 90s, you're hated because, you know, there's not many facilities to accommodate skateboarding, and we were just a destructive force. You know, we're grinding marble and rail sliding benches and, you know, bringing quarter pipe ramps into the fucking park and slamming into people. I think that, you know, that attitude grows up perfectly into graffiti. You know, where we're just trying to do something creative and find an outlet for our teenage anger that's not crime or hurting someone. It's inherently creative and destructive at the same time. And there's something really poetic about that. I would take a train and a bus to school, and along the train tracks, every train station, I see their fucking names, and then you start dissecting it. You're like, okay, that piece, crazy colors, where'd they get those colors from? Did they choose the colors before they went? They must have sketched it first. And you start seeing how elaborate it can get. Then you start seeing characters. And that's where my imagination went wild, was with the characters in graffiti, because I was never a huge fan of letters in graffiti. It was always characters for me. When I got to London in '85, I discovered comic books. Britain had a lot of underground comic illustrators who are very experimental in their style, you know, very like, you know, steampunk, London rave, you know, crazy weirdness. And around that same time, my mother forced me to go to the Tate Modern, but we'd skateboard there. So we'd skateboard from West London all the way to the Tate, and I remember discovering Liechtenstein. And discovering Liechtenstein shortly after discovering comic books for myself. And seeing the correlation of high art to, you know, this pulp art. And that comforted me in a way, because I didn't have interest in abstract painting or other kinds of art that felt highbrow. You know, I liked the darker, dirtier, weirder stuff, but it felt like a validation to see that that could be in a museum. I guess at that age, between when you're like 10 and 15, you're so impressionable. And I was really lucky to have exposure to such powerful examples of pop culture art, you know, and they never left me. All the inspirations I had as a 10, 12, 13-year-old are still my biggest inspirations today. So I guess I got lucky. This exhibition is called Uprise, and it features 18 big paintings of mine and 20 small ones. And it's basically a visual history of protest and resistance throughout human history. And it's somewhat in response to, you know, my feelings about the world since, you know, the election of Donald Trump, really. But it's not just that. There's so much more happening in the world that's so fucking crazy. When tackling an exhibition of this size, you have to choose a topic that you believe in and want to explore and feel, you have to feel that the world wants to see it. By choosing these like specific examples of protest in history, the idea is to inspire people to maintain this attitude. Because when you look at all these examples of history, from the Black Panthers to the Women's March during the French Revolution to Detroit riots to, all of these major protests that have helped change the world, you see that protesting is, a human trait and a human right. It's part of who we are. When we see people in power that don't deserve it, throw them out in their ass. So I wanted to remind people of this. And remind people that no, this is okay. This is who we are. You don't have to be a good citizen. Sometimes being a good citizen is making some noise and, breaking some shit. So yeah, that was the idea, and I felt like I didn't want to be overtly political. I didn't want to be overtly left or right. I just wanted to show that when people are wrong, we can do something about it. When there's evil in the world, there's enough good people to get together to fight it. And that will never change, because that's the way we've always been.